the challenges and opportunities for your businesses is air pollution. Chinese have a massive problem with air pollution. They're like we were in the 50s. Let's just grow up and worry about what happens later on. This is a normal city in all the normal picture in all the large cities in China. The demand by the Chinese people for technology to clean up the air is significant. We make that technology. When I come back from China, the first thing I appreciate is how clean our air is. And I grew up in Los Angeles. We make the technology. We have to sell it. And here is a protest by Chinese citizens against a trash burning plant. They're planning to build it without scrubbers. According to the Chinese government, as of 2009, every day 160 demonstrations are happening across the country against environmental degradation. That's from like 2009. But here's where it gets silly. Last year, a Pennsylvania company paid a Chinese company $100 million to import Chinese technology and Chinese engineers to teach us how to use Chinese technology to burn American coal and American power plants cleaner. You get all that? Let me short circuit. We're paying the Chinese money to use their technology to burn our coal cleaner because we're ambivalent about whether or not we should burn coal. Well, let me give you a data point you don't hear very often. Half of all our electricity in this country comes from coal. Half, 50%. So we get rid of coal, it's every other day without power. In China, it's 80%. So for them, they got to learn how to burn it as cleanly as possible because what do we know? Their people hate dirty air. Great opportunity for us. So let's talk about what we can do. If any, I flew into Grand Rapids, I was looking at all the wonderful farms. This is going to be the greatest decade to be a farmer we've seen in a long time. Because as these economies grow, and as more and more people join the middle class, what happens? They can buy, and they want to buy stuff, and the land that used to be their farmland gets turned into factory. The energy implications of that are significant. As more and more farms become productive, as we no longer need to have farm supporters, we're going to be producing more, and we know that when we talk about agribusiness, using electricity to dry things, to power things, to process things, demand for electricity in this country, as our economy grows, is going to pick up. The implications are obvious. Price of energy is going to come up. I see the man with the pressure's getting up. I got to run real fast. He's not even subtle about it. The other thing we need to do is we need to reinvest in our university. This is the study that the Kauffman Foundation did looking at MIT, and what it showed that in 2009, if the companies created by MIT graduates had been a country, they would employ 3 million people, 3.3 million people, generate $2 trillion in revenue. These are just companies created by MIT grads. And if MIT grads companies had been a country, it would have been the 11th richest country in the world. Now when you add Michigan, Michigan State, all the great universities in your state, our #1 asset is our university system. I don't say that because I teach at University of Texas. I say that because I'm a businessman. We have the best university system in the world. We have students coming from all over the world to come to our university system, and we're turning out people who can do things. And some of those people are immigrants. You look at this data from the National Venture Capital Association, a quarter of all venture finance publicly traded companies in this country were founded by immigrants from China, India, Korea, Israel, France. Because this is the best place to innovate. This is the place where I don't care who you look like or where you're from, if you have an idea and that idea makes sense and the market likes it, we embrace you, we support you, and we protect you. And what we should be doing if we want to grow our economy from 3% to 6% to 9% is we should become the magnet for innovation and for immigrants. You have something you want to do, you come to America, you come to Michigan, you come to Holland. We're going to make you feel at home. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. We're questioning that strategy. This country of immigrants is questioning that strategy. We know we have innovation. This Buck Rogers idea of being able to talk and see somebody at the same time now exists. It's created by Apple. I talked to my wife last night in Austin with our iPad 2s using Wi-Fi at no cost. Telephone company doesn't like us, but everybody else does. Now, when you open up an Apple product, it says the I'll do that deal any day. Look at Apple, land of innovation. The iPhone, which did not exist before January 2007, wasn't sold before April 2007, now half of its revenue. Apple is responsible for 4% of all the sales in the cell phone industry. It captures 52% of all the profit. How many of you have a business that has that type of margin? 4% of the global market share in revenue, 52% of the profit. What does this country look like when we become a giant Apple? If Apple can do it, and they're in California, what can we do here in Michigan? What can we do? I mean, look at this. And the iPad is outselling the iPhone. The iPad. And it's less than 2 years old. And look at this. 96% of all tablet web traffic is from the iPad. One company. If we take the same approach to innovation that Apple's taken, there's no way America can be stopped. Look at this store. New York City. Looks like a waste. Looks like it's very expensive. It is very expensive. This is the highest grossing retail store in New York City. The Apple Store. More than any other store, including the large Macy's and Bloomingdale's, the Apple Store. If Apple can do it, we can do it. It's an example of where we need to go. So, finishing, everybody's going to be upset because we're going a little over 8:30. But I came here from, I know, he's choking. I'm going to go real fast. Just talk about energy for a minute. I need any translation of this? Can you translate this in Texas? How many of you believe that the slope of these lines are going to start going down? The data I shared with you. They're going in one direction. They're going to continue to go up. The mix is going to change. But look at this data. 2000, China used half the electricity of the United States. By 2010, China was using 4% more electricity than the United States. In 10 years. Is that going to slow down? No. The good news is that China now is the largest emitter of greenhouse gas. And those of our friends in Europe who used to say we were these horrible polluters are now looking at the Chinese, and Chinese saying, up yours. We are number one, and we're going to stay that for a while. You screwed up the environment. Give us the rest of this decade, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do. And the Durban conference just ended, and guess what? The Chinese and Indians said, we are not going to sign anything, and if we don't sign it, you're wasting your time. In fact, what's even more interesting is our friends up north, the Canadians, have officially announced that they are going to leave the Kyoto Protocol. Because they said it's going to cost $1,600 per Canadian citizen to do it. And to do it, we're going to have to take all the vehicles off the road or stop all of our farming and manufacturing activity. And we don't think that makes sense. Unless the Chinese and the Indians sign on, whatever we do in North America is meaningless. Because North America has, what, about 500 million people. The Chinese and Indians have 2.5 billion people. If you look at this is coal consumption. India and China, dominant consumers of coal. Dominant consumers of coal. Look at the growth. Every single energy source. You have China and the rest of the world. This is going forward. What you're seeing is that a strategic inflection point with energy is here, it is significant, and the cost implications going forward as we start to leave this global recession obvious. Even in cars, by the end of 2035, the largest number of vehicles in the world will be in the People's Republic of China. Put that in context, it was illegal for individuals to own cars before 1983. By 2035, it'll not only be the largest manufacturer of cars, here's where it gets interesting for you guys, both as an opportunity and as a challenge. The opportunity is, according to the just released World Energy Outlook of 2011, there's going to be $38 trillion of spending between now and 2035 to keep up with the demand for infrastructure and energy. $38 trillion. New spending in cash. If our companies can't figure out how to make some money with a market that has to spend $38 trillion between now and 2035, we shouldn't call ourselves capitalists. And look at the sectors. For you guys in Holland, the implications for the cost of infrastructure market where people are spending $38 trillion. So you can take as long or as short as you want to make a decision. The longer you wait, the higher the cost is going to be. If you don't believe me, go to the International Energy Agency website. You can download their report. You can see the data yourself. Why is that important for us? I started talking about the debt. I'm going to end up talking about how solving our energy problem, how to solve our debt problem. Half of our deficit spending comes from importing energy sources, primarily oil from outside of the United States. Half. We become energy independent as a country. We cut our deficit in half just overnight, which means the growth requirement to take us from a deficit spending country to a profitable country is much easier. Every administration is talking about energy independence. The good news is we have options. This is technology that's now being used all over the world. Small head hydro. Taking streams and putting small hydropower plants on them so you don't create large basins. There'll be a dam of any significance. This is a picture from British Columbia. They're going to have, I think, 60 of these things, 5 to 10 megawatts. You get 60 to 10 megawatts, that's a nice sized power plant. As you can see, it doesn't affect the environment that much. That is the technology we need to use. But here's where North Dakota and the Marcellus and the Bakken and the Eagle Ford shale plays become really important. The International Energy Agency says we may be entering an era, a golden era of gas, where natural gas is going to give us some breathing space to work on other technologies. I believe they're right. We know there's a lot of concern about fracking, the use of chemicals that fracture shale to release the gas, to release the oil, but that can be solved with technology. In fact, one of my students in Texas works for a company that has some really neat technology to purify wastewater from fracked wells on site. It's a tractor trailer that's just amazing. They just finished the prototype. So there's a solution to it. We can solve that. But if we can become a major producer of gas, guess what we can do? Substantially reduce our imports. If we reduce our imports, guess what happens? We reduce our deficit spending. I'll go quickly through this. I'll end with something, and you'll say, why is this important? There's something called the moon and the sun. They revolve around the earth, right? No, we revolve around them. Is anybody got a question? Hey, sir, you gotta leave, Doggett. I don't care what you say. You can revolve around Mars if you want to. Just stop talking. But the moon revolving around us and us revolving around the sun results in things called tides. And the French figured that out. And since '67, this planet has been generating about 225 megawatts of power from tides. The French. The French. Now that doesn't make you feel inadequate, I don't know what does. They figured this out, you know? They figured it out. But the good news is that tidal power is something that people have discovered. Why is this important to Michigan? You're not very close to the ocean. The stuff has to be made someplace. And the manufacturing skills you have to make big things that hurt you when you kick them are significant. They have to be made someplace. This is the latest tidal power plant, just came online in August, the largest in the world right now, 245 megawatts in Korea. But what's more interesting is they have another project in Korea that they're going to start in a few years. It will generate 1.3 gigawatts of electricity. Let me put this in context. That's equivalent to a large nuclear power plant, except it's entirely powered